Hey there everybody! So I've just watched the new Doctor Who episode for New Year's Day and here to bring you a quick video about it. Now I am going to have to be quick, I don't really have a lot of time to talk about it right now, so I'm going to just kind of abbreviate as much as I can, but simply put, I did quite like it. I thought it was actually pretty good. I don't think it was as good as last year's New Year's episode, but it's still one of the better of the Chibnall written episodes and still kind of good as one of the Chibnall era episodes. But it did have its flaws. But just to say the good things, Jodie Whittaker, still good as her version of the Doctor. Yasmin and Ryan also still good. But it was really good to have John Barrowman back, even for a brief amount of time, and as rushed as it was good to have him back, and he played a bit more of a point this time than in The Fugitive of the Jadoon, so that's something. And of course, Bradley Walsh as Graham, excellent as always, but that in itself kind of sucks with what happens to him, but we'll get into that. And there are going to be some mild spoilers here, so just prepare yourself for that. So, story this time, kind of basic, just another Dalek take over the world storyline, and it's kind of a little bit of a retread of what happened last year with a Dalek taking over a person and then trying to raise an army. Not that much, but it's alright. I do like the redesigns of the Dalek though. We kind of had a bit of that in the previous episode, but it was specifically meant to look different. This one kind of indicates where a new version of the Daleks could be done, and I do kind of like the design. They look a lot more sort of 80s sci-fi, and I think it kind of works. We do still see the original Daleks off the newer series in there though, so it is nice to get a mixture of both. Yeah, just kind of basic, but the main problem with this episode is that there is way too much shoved into here that's trying to just sort of fight for its own kind of territory within the writing and the pacing of the episode, and it kind of all falls flat. There's so many bits in here that could have been done a lot better if there was more time to develop it. So if they cut some of the other stuff out and just allowed these bits to stand on their own merit, it probably would have worked a lot better. There's just so much going on. The rising of the Daleks again, the return of not exactly Trump analog in this from Arachnids in the UK, Jack coming back, Yasmin's sort of pathos about how the Doctor's been missing, because they established that she's been away for 10 months of their time being in the prison and everything, although to the Doctor it's been more like, I don't know, a couple of decades. She said something like that in the episode, so who knows. Then there's also Graham and Ryan kind of thinking about leaving the Doctor, and there's just way too much going on, and nothing kind of feels fully developed as a result, which I feel is the major flaw, not just of this episode, but of Chris Chibnall's run in general. It just feels like he can't quite get it all balanced well. And say what you will about Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat, even in their most overstuffed stories, they knew how to balance the elements that were there very well. Chibnall just doesn't seem to be able to do that very well. But even so, it was still an entertaining episode. They thankfully kind of skim over the whole revelation of what happened in The Children of Time, thankfully. They do still establish that it's a thing, and they do sort of imply that there might be some more to it in future episodes, which I'm eternally dreading, because I still think that was one of the worst plot elements in Doctor Who history, and I still feel like it was a terrible idea. But maybe they might be able to pull something out of it, or maybe they'll just end up ignoring it, or maybe it will turn out that it was all a lie. I just hope that they manage to end up doing something good with it. That's my only hope. What else happened in this episode? Like I said, we had not Trump back as the kind of sort of villain. He was a bit better than he was in Arachnids in the UK, but he still feels kind of like a sort of more downgraded version of the Master, or at least some other sort of human-looking villain in Doctor Who. So it wasn't bad, but just didn't quite feel it, really, which kind of sums up the episode in general, really. And speaking of which, it turns out at the very end of the episode that both Graham and Ryan are now leaving the TARDIS. Under good circumstances, granted, which is a new part of Doctor Who in the recent years. Most companions who leave don't leave under the best of circumstances, but they do here, so that's very good at the very least. But it's just such a shame that we're losing Bradley Walsh. He was the best part of these Chris Chibnall episodes, and now he's not going to be around anymore, which is really unfortunate. I really am going to miss him. They do imply that there may be a spin-off series with him and Ryan, and they even imply the potential return of the series Torchwood, which, I mean, a Graham and Ryan spin-off, maybe it could work, but we really don't need Torchwood back. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't really even think it was that good in the first place. It had some moments, I'll give it that, but it's kind of another example of Chibnall not being able to know how to balance things properly and mistaking sexuality and violence as maturity, which it really isn't. But, you know, who knows? Maybe there might be something good out of this. Which, speaking of which, we're implied as to a potential new companion in Doctor Who, because Yasmin is staying on. And I was thinking it was starting to get a bit crowded in the TARDIS, but we will still have another companion on top of her, who is going to be John Bishop. Not quite sure what I feel about that. I like John Bishop as a comedian. He can be very funny, but I've not really seen him in an acting position, really, so I don't know what he could be in that sort of capacity. But, you know, maybe he can be like Graham and have a lot of really good sarcastic comments. I don't know if John Bishop will be able to fill that role as Bradley Walsh did, but, you know, we'll see what happens. So, not a great episode, but it was still entertaining, but it's still a very rocky road. I still feel that the direction that Doctor Who is going in is not a very good direction. I don't know if it will end up to the, like, full cancellation of the series in time, but we'll see what happens. I'll probably still keep going with it just to see where it goes, and who knows, maybe, like I said, they might be able to pull it out of the storm. But as of yet, I'm still kind of hanging on tentatively. I feel like I'm losing my love for the series just from some of the more recent things that have happened. Not just in story, but just in how the show itself has kind of been developed. I just feel like it's not quite there anymore. But evidently, there are still a lot of people who love the series, and more power to them. There is still a lot to appreciate. The cinematography is still excellent. It does feel a bit overwrought at times, but it does look really good. I do miss Murray Gold, though. Why did you get rid of Murray Gold? He was amazing. But, you know, sometimes things just happen. So yeah, that was Revolution of the Daleks. Not bad, but not great either. And that's all I have to say on that. So, I'll see you guys later. Bye.